Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. Hi, I'm Bonnie Violet. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, and digital chaplain. And yeah, I'm here.
This is my turn.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm a 6-year doctoral student in clinical psych. I have not been able to sleep well this past week, and I care about you.
Hi, and I'm Lulu. My pronouns are he, him. I'm in recovery for alcohol and crystal meth. I am always in search of balance, and I'm signing in from Palm Springs, sunny Palm Springs.
Hey. Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to inspire and hold spaces for more people in recovery.
But before we do that, like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right. How is everyone?
Good.
Yeah.
We're all like the hush in the crowd of three.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I missed you guys last week.
Did you?
Yeah, we all missed each other.
How did we miss? Oh, we weren't on. We didn't go on.
Sorry for folks who might have been looking forward to us last week. One of our producers
was sick.
was ill.
Yeah, I did get I did get a few messages asking what happened because people felt abandoned.
Aw.
Yeah, poor thing.
Brandon is.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. But we're glad that you like us so much that you noticed when we weren't on.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Brandon. I think.
Go ahead.
Brandon, I think that Brandon needed to for us to know just how valuable Brandon is.
You know what? That sounds like Brandon. Yeah, which is more incentive for folks out there. Like I said a couple weeks ago, we are taking on interns. So if you're interested in joining our production team, and you don't even have to come on as an intern. If you're willing or wanting to be of service, you can come on and join our production team and learn how Brandon does what he does. And we can always find some work for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. So there's a different arrangement we have today.
I know.
Yeah. So tell us about where you're at and what you're doing, Lulu.
So I'm in Palm Springs right now. I'm here kind of relaxing in the sun. I jokingly told them I was going to tell you all that Bonnie and I have a clause in our contract where we're not supposed to be in the same space, but that's not true. It's like, I am being Bonnie today. Hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
yes.
Give us a little shimmy.
A little shimmy. Yes, exactly. I'm so relaxed. It's like, so I might just fall asleep because I'm in the bedroom that I've been using, so I might just lie back and.
Yeah. How about you, Bonnie Violet?
Oh yeah. I'm glad to be in the Bay.
Yeah.
I got here last Wednesday. It wasn't planned, but it's been nice. I just needed to come and kind of regroup, kind of hit some walls on some things, and had kind of a shift in my spirit, and I have like a lot more, I think, clarity on some of the next steps. So my little nomad life is about to end.
Oh, really? Where are you gonna end? Where are you ending?
So I've decided to move in July to Boise, Idaho.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's going to be like my main headquarters. I'm going to, still travel and do that sort of thing, but I'm going to be based there.
That's cool. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks. Well, it's profound because I at one point just now when you were sharing, I was like thinking, so coming back to San Francisco and regrouping, I was thinking, well, is this home base? But you've told us this is exciting.
Well, I got like this little psychic tarot reading last week, and the person said that they saw me. I know they can't see online, but I'm going woo with my fingers. But they said that they saw me standing up in Idaho, and then there was like this triangle connection to San Francisco and Portland, which was which I don't know, it just kind of felt like that, like, because my question was about place, like I just wanted to know where I need. And so my spirit kind of confirmed that. It's like my spirit's like telling me, okay, you're gonna go, and my mind's like, fuck, I don't want to, like, not there, but there's something in me that's just like, this is the next step for you.
That's exciting.
Yeah. How about you?
Me, so like I said, I was having trouble sleeping like the last week. I think I'm good this week. I'm not sure. Or today's Monday. No, today's Tuesday. So last week it was just kind of like hit or miss. God, that's a whole story. But so I have started to get some more sleep. And see, I had friends help me like decorate my place because
Oh, nice.
yeah, it looks really nice. And so now when people see it, they're like, "Oh wow, you have such good taste," and it has nothing to do with me.
Right. Well, you chose your
I did.
friends.
Exactly.
They did run things by me. Okay, shall we?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's in there.
Okay, so today's episode is titled "You're Fired," and the reason why we came up with this idea was because Lewis was working with someone that he was contemplating not working with. Those are the most gentlest words that I can use, right? So specifically, we're talking about sponsorship or mentorship in general, right? So in preparing for this episode today, I did some research and I found that the sponsorship model, AA is, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're the pioneers behind it and people attribute the sponsorship model to AA. But that isn't to say that other recovery programs don't use it, and they will often refer back to AA. There are also, shady enough, recovery programs where you have a sponsorship, but you pay the sponsor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's sketch magetch. So
Yeah.
so that exists.
But
Go
I
ahead.
think there's like, just like there are different ways that people might hire a coach or they might work a
Yeah.
therapist.
Yeah, like a life coach.
Or maybe get spiritual direction from like
that I think is totally cool. I think
Yeah.
it's totally different when you're calling it sponsorship.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I get it coming from like our lane, but
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
I mean it's like if you're a member of like Alcoholics Anonymous or any of those, then you are going against like the agreements, the social agreements.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give anybody, like maybe somebody who's not part of the program and does recovery differently might. I mean, sponsors like a word that's used in a lot of ways in a lot of different groups,
Yeah, I get that. Cool. So one of the things that I've never read before, so AA has this pamphlet. It's called Questions and Answers on Sponsorship. There's really good shit in here. The pamphlets are actually pretty good. Have y'all ever read any of the pamphlets?
I have, because I had to.
Oh, okay. So I'm just to read a couple kind of things from the table of contents. So you have things like, how should a sponsor be chosen? And may a newcomer have more than one sponsor? When a member is ready, when is a member ready for sponsorship responsibility? And the other one is, how should a sponsor deal with slips? How can a sponsor handle an overdependent newcomer? I thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's just, it's really interesting, and I probably should like open it up when I get back, because those are a lot of questions that I've had recently.
Yeah, you know what I really like in this pamphlet is the what does a sponsor do and not do, and there's this 2-page list about things that we do and we don't do. Lewis, I thought we might start with you, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about like the situation you were in that was making you think about.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's like without going too far into detail or giving enough information so you folks who are local would know who the individual is. I always tell my sponsees when I start working with them that we're only going to work together as long as we can. I really feel like my only responsibility is to work the steps with the sponsee the way someone worked the steps with me. So in the topic, I'm glad in the topic you talked about this idea of boundaries and other things, because I always have to like figure out, am I being of service, number one? Am I making concessions for individuals who might not be ready to do the work in the way they need to do the work? And this one particular individual was just not showing up. And I don't get to decide how much you want this or not. I get to decide for myself how long I'm going to stay on this ride. And so I kept having that dreaded conversation. Well, what's going on? It's like, maybe we need to we need to rethink what we do, because I feel like what we do as adults is kind of agreements. We make agreements, and we hopefully we stick to them. And when you have an individual who is not sticking to them, I'm all, do we need to rethink what we've agreed upon so that it works more in your favor? And where this thing fell is we made some new agreements based on maybe a little more structure, where I asked for a little more of a commitment because what I wanted to do, because I feel like there was nothing that I could do that really kind of damage the person anymore. So I asked for an absolute commitment. Like, I need a call every day consistently, and I need you to participate in gratitude list. And this person showed through their actions that they were really ready, because they are consistent, and they continue to be consistent. In this instance, it worked out. It doesn't always work out, but it gives you, it's very telling. If you ask for someone to kind of show what they're willing to do, and then they continue to fall short in the most loving possible way, I get to make the decision, and thank God for this person in this situation. We're still working together, but in the past, I've had to kind of part ways. And like you titled this, you're fired, but I don't fire sponsees because I didn't hire them. It was just, you know what? I am going to take care of myself, because I'm no longer interested in holding space for someone who may not be ready to do the work in the way we need to do the work. Right. Doesn't mean they're not ready. Maybe they can go off and find someone who's willing to kind of show up, meet them where they are. And I'm not perfect, and so I get to own when I'm able to meet a person where they are, and acknowledge when I'm not.
Is that how you were sponsored?
I've had a number of sponsors, and so and I've been an amazing sponsee, so I've never had to really worry about somebody wanting to let go of me.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah, no. I think that for the most part, like, I've been really consistent, because I feel like I came in with a level of desperation that I kind of held on to, and maybe it's a character defect, but I was a people pleaser, and so I wanted to be an A student, an AAA, and so it just made sense for me to be consistent, meaning consistently communicating, because in the back of my mind, I always knew, like, this is for me, as much as I want to do it it's for me. And I was really happy to be connected to something. I don't know about you all, but it's like, there was that disconnect, and then coming here and really kind of wanting to hold on tight to this, because I didn't want to go back to what I had before. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. What you make me think of is how there's so many different sponsorship styles. Like, for example, my sponsor since the very beginning has been so relaxed with me. Like, their kind of approach is, I'm not going to work harder than you work. I'm not going to go chasing you around. But it's all been like with love, mm-hmm. Like, my sponsor has always been available to me, always answers most of it. Like, I think they answer the phone 99% of the time, right. You know what I mean? And it's just always felt very gentle. There have never been any kind of hard lines drawn for me. And that's really worked, because I don't think that I would be able to work well with someone who is militant. I'm not calling you militant. I'm just saying militant in general.
I'm not militant.
And I know, like, for me, I feel like I've needed different things from different sponsors. And like, I was in different places with my recovery. So in the beginning, it was really helpful. I was a lot like Lulu in the sense of, like, I definitely, like, I liked getting the employee of the month. And, so I came in and I was like, my sponsor told me to do this. I did it, and like, was really eager to do it correctly and kind of get it done and over with, which we know that isn't quite how it worked, but it was helpful for me to have somebody to just tell me what to do. Eventually that kind of blew up in my face because I kind of made him my higher power. Mm-hmm. So But, thankfully I was able to recover from that and, find a higher power that wasn't him, which I think I've talked about before. But.
Yeah. Oh, we have someone who just wrote in. Ana Maria Rivera says, I'm blessed that my sponsor understands that I have some limitations due to my mental health issues. That's thank you for writing in, Ana Maria. That's such a good point, right? So what you're making me think of is, how do we know if someone's a good fit?
Yeah.
Like, how do we know when a sponsor is a good fit? Y'all have any answer to that?
Well, I was always told to like pick somebody who had what you wanted. Like they lived their life, they had a spiritual program. Maybe they had things about themselves that you identified with that that they seem to be holding well. Like my most recent sponsor, I chose him because of kind of how he interacted with people socially, his joy, the way he showed up to program. And, like there were just things that I saw in him that I was like, I think I could handle, having a little bit of that for myself too, to try to be a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, I think that, like, my style of sponsoring has changed over time as I've changed. And I have been able to bring what I've learned from these different sponsors to that. But I was also going to say, there's a kind of a grace period at the beginning of sponsorship where how you start reading the book or whatever before you actually start doing the step work. And in my mind, and I always tell my sponsors, I wish you a long, slow recovery. That's not my thing. I got it from other people, but it's a slow kind of getting to know you, kind of initiation, where we get together, we read, we do early fifth step work, meaning I always have them check in and talk about whatever they want to talk about, and we kind of get to know each other. And in that time, it's an opportunity. And usually it's a great time to kind of figure out, do we gel? Because as much as I might think I want what you have, once I get to know you, I may not want it.
Right.
I remember my very first sponsor. So going back to like someone who has what you want. I was also reading, and there was this one place that said the way you choose a sponsor is by picking someone who inspires you. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
So my very first sponsor, I felt like he was thrusted upon me. And looking back, he didn't have anything that I wanted. And in fact, when we got together to go over the big book, his fucking grinder would go off. It would just be in the background, which was, to me, like that was something. He was my AA sponsor, but I knew that I was already dealing with SLAA stuff. So to have my sponsor maybe actively involved in his like SLAA addiction, it wasn't really helpful. And he eventually went out a few times. No tea, no shade.
Is that when you let
I hope he's
him
doing
go,
well.
or
When did I let him go?
Before?
When did I? When I let him go, I think we were out eating at this restaurant up the block here, and we were out, and there was this one guy, this white guy, who was making these racist jokes, and I was like, "Yo, I don't think this is funny.
Right.
Like, this is fucking tacky." And I got up to leave, and then my sponsor, I felt like he should have had my back, or maybe like I was fucking new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and in my opinion, you protect the newcomer as much as you can, like you don't want them to get scared away.
Yeah.
And when that all went down, I was like, what the fuck? Like, is this what this is? And I think that's when I was like, no, this is not a good match. Yeah.
Well, you can't feel safe.
Yeah, I heard someone say you should choose a sponsor based on someone that you will eventually be comfortable doing a fifth step with.
I've also heard the best sponsor to have is a sponsor that you have when you're ready to do the work.
Yeah.
Because it's great to have a guide, and it's great to have that person, but this is a perfect program. It's not a perfect fellowship.
Yeah.
And so if I hold, and obviously when you come in, I'm going to be holding you to like a hard standard. I used to think that people like that would share at meetings or whatever when I first came in were celebrities. I'm like, oh my God, this person's amazing or whatever. So what am I going to think about a sponsor who's taking me through? I'm like, stars in my eyes. But yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I had no concept of the fifth step. I think I would have struggled with that because I think that would have been like too much for me.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that advice that was for like a more seasoned person in recovery.
I don't think it's bad advice at all.
The other thing I was thinking of is, so I have 3 different sponsors. So I have my AA sponsor, my Al-Anon sponsor, and my SLAA sponsor.
Right.
And I was thinking about, well, what is it that they all give to me? So like my AA sponsor is a very spiritual person.
Mhm.
My Al-Anon sponsor is very warm, and my SLAA sponsor is very detached. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
Yeah. And I think with the SLAA sponsor, detached in this not like a harmful way, but in this, you live your own life.
Mhm.
This is not a codependent relationship,
Right.
and these are the boundaries around our relationship, which is, I think, appropriate given like the nature of SLAA. So one of the things I wanted to make sure that we included is kind of giving our perspectives on both the, being sponsors and then also being sponsees. So I was wondering if y'all had any very specific, maybe unique opinions about sponsorship or sponsorship that are unique to you. So, or in general, like for example, it would be bad to sleep with your sponsee.
Yeah.
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 All right. It would be bad to sleep with you. And
My first sponsor tried to sleep with me.
okay,
So
yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
ended that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. And maybe we should talk a little bit about why you shouldn't be sleeping with your sponsees.
Yeah. Well, I usually, when I first sit down with a sponsee or a potential sponsee, it's like I go over a lot of different things. Like, I'm not your financial advisor, I'm not your therapist, I'm not here to do this. We're not going to sleep together. All these things, lay it out, because I think sometimes those things need to, you need to hear those things. But I think that like I also let them know that I'm not perfect, and at some point I'm probably going to let them down, and that I'm not. And sponsorship is also not marriage. But it's like in turn, when I say we're going to work together as long as we can, we're going to work together as long as I'm able to be of service to you, and I want you to know that I'm hoping that you grow to a point where if you need something different, you're able to have a conversation and like move forward with it. But yeah, it's like. I don't know. It's like also what I know to be true, and this is super cool. I can't make anybody drink, and I can't make anybody not drink. All I am there to do is to work the steps with you.
Right.
And once I got a hold of that, I was like, oh, this is good, because it can be pretty scary in the beginning, thinking, because I used to think I had to set your personal schedule, determine who you got to hang out with, everything, and none of that stuff's any of my business. I only get to work with the things that you bring to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was this, I just had this thought. Sponsor, fuck. Sorry, it happens always at least once.
Right.
during
At least
an
once.
episode. What? Okay. Let's just keep it moving.
Like just
Yeah.
around like sponsorship. Just
It was
things
about
that-
sponsorship, but it was about like, oh, you can't ever get it wrong. So what I heard once said is like, when you're working with a sponsor who's willing to go to any lengths, you can't go wrong, right? Like they're going to be solution focused, and they're going to be looking at the literature, and they're going to be going to meetings, right? Like your opinion shouldn't be the only opinion or the only thoughts that they're hearing, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a sponsee that's looking for a reason to drink or is already kind of out to lunch, right? That person's going to go out. And so we really don't have any control. And it's actually working a nice first step, right? We have no control over other people.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
one thing that's kind of sat with me through all my recovery that I thought was good is just like that I'm not going to chase my sponsee. Just like I don't expect my sponsor to chase me. So it's like if I need to have a conversation, if I need then I need to instigate that conversation or vice versa. And I think just like all rules, there's times when that's maybe okay, and not necessarily to chase, but because that person, maybe they had a recent death or a recent loss, or they're going through something that you can recognize that they might need a little extra, just like, hey, I'm thinking of you and I'm curious how you are. Because, and again, I think just like with every relationship, it's not helpful to go into every relationship and treat everybody the same way, because
Oh, absolutely.
we all have our own little quirks and our own ways of feeling loved and accepted and heard and safe. And, we just have to do our best. And, sponsee relationships are oh, those are so sacred, and they're
I believe
so
yeah,
powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah. So I think my first experience with, so what I'm thinking about is learning how to care for other people, right? Growing up, there was like a very specific way of caring for people, and it was a very possessive way of caring for people, right? And there was this, people owed you things for your love, right? And so my first experience with this was it was my second year of graduate school, and I was working with this client, and it was a very young kid, and this kid like came in, and it was just not a very good situation. And so one day, he had a session with me, and I waited in my office and never showed up. And I was working at a youth center. So then I walked out and I saw him playing basketball, and I stood out there and I waved him down, and he saw me, and he never came over. And I stood there for 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I went back to the office and I wrote it in my note, and then I talked about it in clinical supervision. And my clinical supervisor goes, "Why did you wait for 20 minutes?" And I was like, "Well, because I care and I want to work with him." And they say, "No, you have to have better boundaries than that," And it got me thinking, like, wait, how do I care about people? And in that case, I feel like I was caring at my own expense, right? It was this kind of asymmetrical, I don't know, I don't want to say devotion or care, but it just felt very asymmetrical. And that goes back to the idea of when you're working with a sponsee, you can't work harder than they're working.
Oh yeah, it's like I can't want it more than you do. But I think that in the beginning, like the relationship or like the boundaries, things have to be kind of rigid. And as you get to know a person and understand who they are, you get to be a lot more flexible with it. Kind of like if you're fortunate enough to kind of go through the steps completely the first time, then all of a sudden it's like I'm able to kind of be relaxed and change how we show up for one another. And also, because in my thing, it's like one of the big things that I am not okay with is like when we first start working together, it's like we're not friends in the beginning. We're working towards that because it's going to be intimate. So I'm not your best girl. I I really think that there needs to be a certain amount of reverence.
Yeah.
I need to feel like, and I hate to say that, but I need to feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I don't, like when I've chosen sponsors, I need to feel like I'm getting in trouble if I don't do the work.
Like there's,
it's not like it's gonna happen, but I need to feel like this person there's going to be some sort of a consequence. But if it's some willy-nilly somebody who's just all like, if I'm just all, hey, let's have fun in the beginning, it's like there's no motivation for me to show up in the way I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of have I've had a lot of friends who, then get sober or get into recovery and they want me to like sponsor them or whatever. And for me, it's been really important to be like, no, actually I don't think I'm trying to think there might be a situation where I might temporarily sponsor a friend until they could get a sponsor. But I was like, I would much rather just be your friend in sobriety, because
absolutely
for me, I know that for whatever reason, if I'm in different roles, I'm going to see things a little differently and I might speak about things a little bit differently. And I think there's some walls that go down in like a friendship, and there can be like more of a camaraderie and even a playfulness at times. Whereas I mean, you can have that in sponsorship too, but you know what I mean? There's just kind of this, it's different, and they're both valuable. It's important for us to have fellows and people who are in recovery to be there with us. And for me also to have mentors and, people who are ahead of me in the game.
Yeah.
To kind of help, bring me along.
Yeah. So it sounds like we've identified a few themes. So like there's no one right way to be a good sponsor, but there are definite ways to be a bad sponsor. So good sponsors, a good sponsor-sponsee relationship is one that's based on commitment, it's boundaried, it's compassionate, and it's centered around support, right?
Yeah.
There's also kind of like, and it's symmetrical to the extent that a sponsor isn't chasing down a sponsee. Right. So, and then the other thing before we kind of switch up a little bit is I was thinking about similar to what you were saying, Bonnie Violet. I once had a sponsor say to me, if I'm working with someone and it's not working out, the way that I could address that is by telling a sponsee, like, I'm thinking, this might not be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is I want to be a sober resource for you, but you should probably find another sponsor.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you ever had that conversation with someone?
With someone?
No,
someone's had that conversation with me before.
Mm-hmm.
It was when my very first LCLAA sponsor said, Anthony, you aren't doing any of the step work. You aren't going to meetings. Maybe I would be a better friend to you than a sponsor since you aren't taking any of the investments. Yeah.
I've said that to sponsors. It's like, oh, but Jimmy just said, how about if you choose a good friend who really works the program and has what you want?
Can I speak to this actually? So there's at my only relationships is my clinical work. And there's a reason why, for example, clinicians are not friends with their patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because there's a clear power imbalance, right?
Yeah.
There can be an interpretation of your behavior outside of the clinical space when you're in the clinical space. So there's too much to get muddied, right? And I think as a sponsor, for me, my goal is always to communicate the message, to be centered in the book and in my experience, and then that's it. I'm not really trying to hang out with my sponsees because I just feel like there's too much room for things to get confusing.
Yeah. I had a situation with, I guess, firing. It sounds like such a drastic word, intense word, but it kind of felt that way. I was working with a sponsee. I was actually here in San Francisco, and I loved her to pieces, and we were really trying to work the stuff, but she because I was trying to think of what makes what would cause a sponsorship thing to end. And I was always told that you don't fire a sponsee. Like a sponsee can let go of you, but you don't let go of a sponsee as long as they're showing up. And this one person I was working with, she just kind of kept relapsing, and she kept kind of doing things that were different than what maybe I suggested. And it's not my job to tell her what to do, but it just got to a point where it's I don't know how to help you anymore. And I don't feel like I'm helping you. And so I remember I actually sat her down in here in the coffee shop and had a little conversation with her. And I said, hey, I don't think this is working. I don't see how I'm helping you. I think we need to stop working together. And she was not happy. She said a lot of colorful language at me and ran screaming out the door. We were able to kind of reconnect a few months later or whatever, and all was well. But that was a very difficult, I guess, situation. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was going to say to that question, asking a good friend or whatever who's already in the program is easy. It's really easy, and it doesn't challenge me. It's sometimes what I hear a lot of people say is really hard to go up to someone they don't know and ask them some that. And I think that this program is all about humility. It's about humbling ourselves. And so it's I prefer to have my good girlfriends so that I can take because it takes a while sometimes to really give everything to your sponsor, to share openly and honestly. And you always need those folks that you can go and talk to. And sometimes you just need somebody to talk to and listen without them suggesting, now we're going to work the 4-step around it. Because I've had to tell the sponsee recently, because I think he wanted me just to listen and kind of hear. And I asked him to do some work around it. And he every time he called, I'd ask him if he did the work, and he didn't. Finally, I was just you know what? Love you to death, but I don't have energy for this right now. You call me when you're ready to actually move forward and do the work. That's what I'm here for. So that's why getting a friend, it's it muddies the water.
Yeah. In my experience, the difficult thing for me has been, and I know other clinicians have this experience too, where it's you're not their therapist. So how do you keep yourself from being their therapist? And I was thinking about this because I think a lot of family dynamics show up in a sponsor-sponsee relationship. You essentially become this authority figure. And if they have issues with authority figures in general, that stuff comes up. So I could easily see how breaking up or firing or changing your relationship with a sponsee could bring up old feelings of neglect or abandonment, right? And none of that stuff has anything to do with you. And where I wanted to land with this too is that I wanted to end by talking about the healing that's happened in the sponsor-sponsee relationship for you on either side, right? Like experiences where you feel like you're reminded of, oh, wow, this is why we do this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there was one of the most tender, I mean, there's been lots of moments, but the first thing that came to mind was I had and this might feel a little like, one of the things too I wanted to say is that like our sponsor also isn't meant for everything. So like I didn't tell my first sponsor all of my fifth step. I actually told a stranger the rest of it. So like I just wanted to put that out as well. Now I forgot what else I was going to be talking about.
We were talking about healing relationships with our sponsors.
Yes. So with this sponsor, she and I had been working together for like a couple of years. I was like 12 years into sobriety. And I was having a lot of, we were doing some Al-Anon stuff, kind of some childhood stuff, and trying to do some visualization around like inner child work and things like that. And I was really struggling with the visualization. I'm not able to visualize things in my head. And so she was trying to work me through this and I couldn't. And I also was unable to cry. And I'd been unable to cry for so long. And I was so like in so much pain and so like tortured and really trying that I couldn't cry, but she cried for me. And it was so powerful. Like I didn't even know that was possible, but she cried for me and I felt the release.
Oh, wow.
It was so wild.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. I think for me, so my current sponsor, I've been working with them for years, I think maybe over 7 years now. And I think I always feel the most healed and the most connected when they make an observation that I didn't know they made, you know? And I feel, and when my sponsor is able to call me out on things without my getting defensive. And I think the reason why I can hear it from them is because I never think that my sponsor is trying to hurt me. I know that my sponsor very much cares about me. And that becomes like very evident when they're saying, can I tell you one of the things that my sponsor told me where I was like, oh, damn, that hurt, was when he said, this was years ago. And I was like, you know, the relapse in my story has always been around like some guy. And there was this one time I was like crying to my sponsor about something. And they say to me, do you know, Anthony, out of all of my sponsees, you're the only one who is always trying to run into a relationship. And do you realize that while we've been working together, you've done this like X amount of times? And I was embarrassed, but also like laughing at myself because I was like, oh, wow. But I needed that, you know, I needed someone to recognize me, to see me, and to still be able to point to something. And then my Al-Anon sponsor, recently I was expecting her to be angry with me about something. And when we spoke, she was like understanding and loving. And I was like, oh no, don't be nice to me, you know, like yell at me or something. And that was really nice. And then my SLA sponsor, there was this one day we were talking and I was just going on and he says to me, Anthony, you know, there's nothing wrong with you, right? Like, you don't have to feel shame for X, Y, and Z. And it was around stuff with sex. And it was the first time I think someone gave me permission to not have shame around my sex life.
Yeah.
How about you, Lulu?
To answer that, like, I feel like, and we all experience this, like on the end, when I'm sponsoring folks, when you start to see change in the individual, when they figure things out for themselves, like, we just recently, I was going over step 2, like, and I've reread over that in the big book like many times. And for some reason, this time I saw it from different eyes. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I was like able to kind of then take that new experience and share it with my sponsor to kind of work through. But also, when I sit with sponsors sometimes and I show up thinking that I'm going to be this great bearer of information and change that person, and I end up being the person that's changed or sponsored in that session. So I think it's those moments when I am humbled by the fact that like what I thought I knew I didn't know, and now I get a different way of thinking about things because um, I've opened myself to people. Like I have, I think the closest relationships I have now are just sponsees and my sponsor. Because I will tell them everything, whether they want to hear it or not. No, well, I tell my sponsor everything,
Yeah.
and it's great. It's great because I don't have to pay.
So that's awesome. So before we tell people how to get a hold of us, I just want to thank the people who write in, who say hi to us on the streets or while we're live and you send us messages. I'm doing step 2, just finished, and the same. That's awesome, Jimmy. Congrats. It's really awesome when people write in. If you're afraid to, do it anyway. Hi, David, Bonnie Violet Live, and Lewis Remote. That's a switch. Correct. We absolutely love it.
I've never been called a switch, but that's a whole.
Oh, I know what that means.
A whole
I learned that last year.
Exactly.
Yeah. So takeaway there is we absolutely love it when you do it.
I love you too, Anna.
We absolutely love when you write in. We absolutely love to hear what you're thinking. So we encourage it whether we're live or you contact us separately. And how can people do that?
Go ahead, Lulu. You always go first.
Yeah.
Well, you can always reach me at Instagram, LouisLou86, and I have been making modifications so that it looks like it's less of a shit show and more of an opportunity to kind of learn and grow with me.
Nice. And you can, I guess, find me at A Queer Chaplain on all the things, or also at aqueerchaplain.org. I'm also going to, just recovery related, I'm going to be speaking at the Trusted Servants. There's event, which is like a sober leather kink group.
Oh, dope.
And we're talking about consent. That's on like Thursday. And it is online, like it's virtual. So I'll try to put the information in the comments. So.
Cool. And you can reach me on Instagram at alucasccc on Instagram. Listen, I have one photo on there. I know I've told you this already. I have one photo on there. If you have shit you want to tag me in, feel free to tag me in it so that there could be something, because this is where
we're gonna tag you.
You're gonna tag me in dumb shit, aren't you?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. We absolutely love you.
Are you able to do the mission statement, Lulu? Or did you want that?
Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah. That wasn't awkward. I love you guys.
Oh, I love you too?
Yeah, no, not you.
We love you back.
But I love you too. I love you.
I love you all.
I love you too.
I love you in spite of that awkwardness.
Yeah.
The Castro Country Club is a clean and sober gathering place for all people and a home for the queer recovery community. My voice changes whenever I read it. We endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy.
Joy.
Joy. I don't say anything.
Usually goes to me and I say something, but again, neither one of us have like our regular notes today.
Yes, exactly. So you can reach us on our speak pipe at the CCC, and also podcast. Pay attention
at CastroCountryClub.com.
Check out the
well, people are listening in, so they can't see the screen.
Right.
Anyway, we have left.
One thing that folks can do, we have a new website for the Castro Country Club, and you can go to the Castro Country Club, and we have a page that's specific for podcasts, and that's a great place to start. You get information, you can connect with some of our favorite episodes, and you can write us in and let us know what you want to hear about, Yeah. And also, we didn't say it at all today, but you need to know, if you don't know already, that we are not ambassadors for any program. We simply just speak about our experiences.
Yeah, and tell your friends about us.
Yep.
Tell them.
Your former lovers, your current lovers,
your sponsor,
your sponsee, former and current. And I think.
But let's hope that those two aren't happening at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And share with and for folks who maybe come across this later, share in the comments. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, we're literally at time, and I'm trying.
No, we're good. 4:40.
I feel so compliant because I'm looking at Brandon, and Brandon has his fingers on all the keys.
All right, let's say goodbye.
All right, bye. We love you.
Bye.